epic animation in the style of heavy metal. It's time we talk about the spine of night. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast. I am Chris Gore. I am so happy to talk to you today. It's a good day when I get to talk about a film that I am ecstatic about, a film I've been gushing about for the last year that you probably haven't seen yet, but you can because it's on video on demand. It's The Spine of Night. And before I bring on the wildly talented co-directors of the film, I just want to say, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you've just discovered this, because you're going to open your eyes up to a whole world of indie film that you never knew existed. And if you want to support our mission at Film Threat to introduce all these incredible indie films, why don't you buy a t-shirt like this Film Threat shirt that I'm wearing right now? Or even like you can pick up a mug which holds any liquid, hot or cold. Yes, we designed this mug just for you. All types of liquid that are any beverage you please can go into that mug, and you can actually get that at shop.filmthreat.com. I knew I had that. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. But right now, it's my pleasure to bring on the co-directors of The Spine of Night, Morgan Galen King, Philip Gelatt. Thank you so much for being on the show. We had that amazing watch party. I should remind people, the watch party still on the channel. If you want, it's like a free DVD commentary, right? It's a free DVD commentary. You can check that out. But this movie has blown people's minds. If you don't know anything about it, just, look on YouTube for a trailer for The Spine of Night to just get a taste of what this film is about. But it's really like, obviously it's a labor of love. You worked on it for 8 years. Tell me about like what inspired like, hey, I want to make like a heavy metal inspired. It's gory as hell. Also a healthy dose of tasteful nudity.
I thought it was tasteful, at least.
Yeah.
I've seen some disagreement online. Man, where did it all start? I mean, I think just a childhood love of this style of animation. I grew up with Ralph Bakshi's, Lord of the Rings, and Fire and Ice, and I saw heavy metal on a very, important in my origin story sleepover. So I think the just when it was like, at some point as a creator, you're going to have to think like, what is the thing I want to make? And you've seen, I'm sure, people say like, make the thing that you want to see in the world. And it felt like there just hadn't been anything like this in so long that it was we were perfectly suited to do it, since we loved it and no one else was gonna try.
Yeah, like I think the short answer is because nobody else would dare. Maybe, I mean, it was I think that was definitely like one of the things that attracted me to Morgan's animation at the outset was I saw his short film Exordium, and it felt like he's saying like nobody else was making animation that looked like it or that felt like it, because it was violent and it was surreal and psychedelic, and I, as Morgan does, I love that stuff in my fantasy and have for my whole life. So that's really where it started. Is I reached out to him and was like, hey, let's do more of this. Let's continue to ride this crazy train and see where it takes us.
Well, the animation style is this. I mean, it harkens back to the old Lord of the Rings movie from the 70s, right? Like that, like rotoscoping style, which I really love. I mean, it sort of takes off from that. It's a different style than that. But like, what went into, first of all, getting the script prepared, and then you have to make the movie twice, right? First, you have to make the movie in rotoscope because you shoot the live action, and then secondly, you got to remake that into the animated version. So somewhere on a hard drive exists a live action version of this. I'm gonna guess
on this hard drive right here, like right at my feet, I have a live action version. I don't know if Morgan has it too, but yeah, it exists certainly.
So how did that, like, what went into that process? It's like you're making the movie 2 times over. So what was that? You had to cast the actors. Like, tell me about that process, the actual shooting of the live action.
Yeah, I mean, so we got together at the end of 2013 to write the script, and we wrote the script pretty quickly. I mean, Morgan had a kind of a slew of ideas for things he wanted to do in the world, so he put together a rudimentary treatment, and then we went back and forth sharpening that up to really build into the script that we shot. And we never. I mean, I should say, like, this really is an independent film. I mean, there was no notes process. There was no, I mean, it was literally just me and Morgan. And when we were both happy with the script, we were like, all right, let's go figure out how to shoot this live action stuff. So that's what we did. I mean, I rented a warehouse here in Rhode Island where I live, and we cast a bunch of actors out of New York who we knew, like that I knew, like, who were friends of friends, and I've got a lot of actor friends. And then we cast locals to do other smaller parts, and then drag them all into this warehouse and put them into strange looking costumes that Morgan can talk about. I'll show them when he talks about it. And yeah, really, I mean, shot live action like you would shoot a live action film. I mean, we had boarded it, but once we got in the warehouse, a lot of it was sort of a standard, like, was it like block light rehearse shoot process with again just us and a little like DSLR, shooting the whole thing. But Morgan, if you want to talk about the second time we made it in the animation process.
Yeah. Well, I will say when we filmed it, we're trying to get like as much high contrast on their bodies as we could. So it was a lot of like people wearing spandex suits with markers lines on them, and we made a lot of. That's the mask from the short film that we then reused for the feature. As you can see, it's just I'm surprised it has survived that long. It's just cardboard paper mache.
Yep.
So we had, for rigid objects, we had that, like, we had we're going to see the sword, Phil. You bring out the sword?
Well, the sword is in the background.
Okay.
There's the sword
so it is.
in the back.
So it is. So we had this, a lot of cardboard swords. Oh, yeah. Cardboard swords and outfits, which all then when we, exported all of that into frames to work on the animation part, because with rotoscoping you're working directly over the live action to sort of keep the lip sync and the performance of the actors. It's all done by hand, though, at least on this project. We did everything frame by frame by hand in a pretty traditional way, about as close as you could get to doing what Bakshi was doing on a computer. So
God, it just, I mean, the results are so incredible. Like, I remember seeing the trailer for this right around South by Southwest 2021, where and I just said that's at the top of our list. I said, make sure we get that movie. We do our best to review all the films at South by Sundance and Slamdance. Those are kind of like our, we just want to hit those because those are a lot of the movies that appeal to, at least to me personally and a lot of our writers. But boy, that like, shot to the top, having seen like just a tease of it. And I'm blown away, like how, like, I've never gotten to see, I mean, I own the film on video on demand, available for purchase, but like, I really wish I'd seen it in a theater. What's that experience like? You've had that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, so we didn't have that opportunity for a while. I mean, South by was virtual, and I had this, as I'm sure many filmmakers have had in the past year and a half or 2 years at this point, like this painful experience of making a movie that was in like every festival that we've ever wanted to go to, and then they were all virtual. But however, we do have a happy ending, because eventually there was this window of time right before the movie came out when festivals were in person again. So we all went to the Telluride Horror Film Festival in Telluride, Colorado, which is, first of all, just an amazing location to have a film festival. Just, beautiful and incredible. With a really, it's a great festival, and the people that go there, really love horror movies. So we saw it live with an audience for the first time together in Colorado in an enormous theater, and it was enormously gratifying. I've made a couple movies at this point, and I have never had the guts to sit through a movie I've made in a live theater before, but I did with this one because Morgan made me. But it was great. Yeah, it was fantastic.
I mean, you just can't beat a crowd cheering when a big scene happens on screen. Like, I mean, I've seen it at that one time. Then I saw it here. They at a COVID lull. They had it at a local theater here in Halifax, and it was the same time. Every time Larry Fessenden's character gets it in that one, the audience just loves it. So
They love to see Larry chopped in too. It's great. And then afterwards, like you see it with the crowd, and they also react. What was fascinating to me in Telluride was that that the people who came up to say how much they loved the movie, which was really gratifying. I mean, and in particular, I was struck to the nudity question. Like there were a number of women who came up and were, and I say this affectionately, like nerds. Like this one young woman was so shy that she basically made her boyfriend come and like talk to us first, and then she came out and was like, I made him come up first, but I like that movie meant so much to me because Lucy Lawless's character like is my D&D character, and I've never seen that type of like female character on screen before, and that was really cool because it is I don't know, like I feel like my fear, and maybe Morgan's fear too, is that we've made a movie just for people like us, like sort of aging nerds or whatever you want to call us. So to see like younger people and women and all kinds of people respond to it is really was really incredible. I'm so grateful we got to have the experience.
Well, I would say that the nudity is not. I wouldn't say that it's gratuitous. It's just sort of, it's of the era, I guess, or of the. I mean, you're in barbaric times. People are not shy about their bodies. It's really sort of irrelevant, right? Like this is practical. So it didn't feel like it was done in a sexualized way, like necessarily in some of the stuff like in Heavy Metal, the original Heavy Metal cartoon, right? That was definitely meant to be, it wasn't overly sexualized, right? It's just matter of fact, which I think really even sets it in the, well, it spans eras, right? But like it totally works. It just totally makes sense. I mean, I know that we're wearing spandex, but still, it works so well. Like I know also I want to mention that you have mounted, and I so admire this, a 4-year consideration campaign to get this nominated for an Oscar. And I am 1,000,000% behind this because I feel there's got to be a way to break the Academy out of this. Like the animation category is like the kids animated movie, right? It's always the Disney Pixar, whatever, there's sort of like the same players always get nominated. And it sort of irks me that there's not a more open-mindedness to other types of animation or even storytelling, because I think with the exception of the United States, like animation is sort of like the animation is for kids. I've never subscribed to that. I've always sought out animation that is challenging and different. Mostly that comes from other countries. What are your thoughts on that? On just sort of like the American palette as it pertains to animation?
I mean, Disney's such an omnipresent force in the North America, throughout the West, that it really does, whether or not it's specifically a Disney project, like that aesthetic is just so almost synonymous with animation for so many people. But I mean, we're obviously extremely honored to be part of, even being considered for such an independent project. But there's a whole lot. I mean, there's almost a full slate if they were so daring. You could have. I mean, Crypto Zoo is amazing, and you've got Flea and Summit of the Gods. There's a lot of adult-oriented animated films that could be, could fill out your Academy Award roster if they would be so bold.
Yeah, I mean, the question of the American palette for adult animation is one that I've thought a lot about. I don't really know if I have an answer of how to change it, other than like you just got to continue to do it and try to get people to see it another way. I mean, even making this film, we completed it and we tried. I mean, we eventually did find great sales agents, but in trying to find sales agents, we had these ridiculous conversations with people in Hollywood where they would say, "Oh, it's adult animation that's big right now. I can't wait to see it." And then the next thing would be like, "Oh, well, can I watch it with my daughter?" was like, well, that's like, and then you're like, well, no, you shouldn't. I mean, if your daughter's not 18, you probably shouldn't watch it with your daughter. And then the agent was like, well, she's seen Pinocchio, which is, again, Disney's Pinocchio is a beautiful movie, probably among the more adults of their classic films. Like that sort of woodcut whale thing is amazing, but it's not what we've done, and it sort of speaks to an inability to really understand what we mean when we say adult animation, that it's both adult in visual content and also sort of adult in thematics. Like it really is. Anyway, so it's a source of frustration to me, because I think we all agree on the call that like there's just, with animation, there's such a huge imaginative possibility, so that it's just frustrating that here in America so much of it is focused on, again, Pixar and Disney make amazing things, but there is a whole vocabulary and a whole world of stories that can be told in this manner that aren't that.
Well, that's the thing, is like animation is just a way to tell all types of stories across. It could be a musical, it could be a fairy tale, it could be something like The Spine of Night. Like it's just a style, a different way of telling a story. And I'm really, first of all, I'm rooting for you. And I'm also saying to anyone, if you're an Academy voter, that The Spine of Night should be on your nominees list. If you're watching this, listening to this, put it on the list, because just to break through, I think would be an achievement. I feel like there is a lock of certain companies, and that's fine. They do great work, but I feel like expanding your palette is something that everyone would benefit from. I always say that, like, independent films, it's part of your complete media breakfast. You have to if you only subsist on stuff made by the major studios, you're not going to be a happy person. You got to expand the palette. I do love your fast food, but you can't only live on fast food. I have to add, just my personal, I want to know, are you working on another animated project in the same style? Something you can tease us with?
Yeah, we've been, it's really since South by Southwest last year, we've been working on developing outlines and character design, and I've been writing. I think I showed this the other night, but we've got the actual script. I write everything by hand. So we've got stuff in the works. We'll see how much appetite there is for even more of this, but I think we're ready to dive back in. Hopefully with a slightly bigger team, so it doesn't take so long this time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the next pitch, aside from Academy voters with money that want to become producers, this is your shot. Morgan and Philip, thank you so much for talking to me on the Film Threat podcast. It's a pleasure. I'm team Spine of Night, so count me in. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was great. Bye-bye.